Awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem.
So, well, anyhow, you work at Silver Spurs, right?
Yeah. So I honestly probably do a little bit of everything everywhere.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, because I know I've worked with you on a few different projects for other things besides just Silver Spurs too, so Matt, my husband, trains, so I think we've had you guys do some stuff for us too, and I'm president of the Oklahoma Reining Horse Association, and I run that show in March, so kind of a little all over the place, but feels like a lot all over the place sometimes.
No, I know you do a lot, but I was just thinking your main.
Yeah, Silver Spurs. Yeah, I mean, and I'm a co-manager of the Oklahoma Ranch. I run all the day-to-day stuff for Silver Spurs here in Oklahoma, and then my co-manager. Yes, so we also have a ranch in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I have a co-manager that runs more like the breeding side of it here, Blair Bailey. She runs, she manages the studs and, handles all of the breeding barn side of things. What I do here is more like the day-to-day, making sure hay and grain and shavings and all that stuff is ordered, and I have another girl in the office here that does our bookkeeping and all our stallion contracts and all the breeding day stuff, like, takes orders for semen and all that. And then so my other side of it is doing all of the sales and promotion and sale pictures and the website and all of our social media and everything. So it's a lot, but it's fun.
It's an operation.
Yeah. And we have, I think, like over 30 stallions between the two locations. So,
holy cow.
Yeah. We stand 8 here in Oklahoma, but then our main focus, aside from the stallions that are here, is that we have the majority of our brood mares and recip mares here. So we have, close to 400 horses on the property, I think, right now.
Holy cow.
So it's never ending, and it's just every time you think you have a moment of peace, it turns itself around into something not peaceful. But that's just horses. Yeah, I think if you just have 2 horses, that's the case too. So
they're like grown children.
They're just on self-destruct all the time. Yeah.
So, well, that kind of leads me to, so how did you even get into the horse industry? I mean, did you grow up around them and show your whole life, or did you just randomly?
Well, so I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I, as a kid, was just one of those horse crazy girls that wanted to ride, and I finally talked my parents into it. My mom finally, I believe when I was like 11 or somewhere around there, she finally caved and got me like 3 riding lessons at a little local stable, and it just never ended. I think after that, I pretty much like just worked my lessons off forever. And the little barn was called Timberland Acres, and those people became like my second family. And I feel like if I hadn't started in that kind of a program, I probably wouldn't have gone on, because even though they were a small scale operation, they were horsemanship first. Like they taught me the right way to do things. And if you didn't do it right, you never wanted to do it wrong again. Like, they were really strict, but also very good at teaching the right way to do things. I still think, now at 40, I still think of the things that they taught me on a daily basis, just doing everyday horse stuff, And so I did that and just showed little shows like 4-H and weekend shows as like a teenager and stuff. And then, went to school, and while I was kind of in school, I worked part-time jobs, just doing barn stuff, working at, cleaning stalls. Anywhere I could go to just do horse stuff was what I did. And then, after that, I ran boarding barns for probably close to 10 years. I ran like some just strictly boarding. And
you've seen it all.
Oh yeah. And then And then I worked for some trainers. Then I moved to North Carolina in 2006.
You lived in my state.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I lived there it was on and off, back and forth. I did a lot of bouncing around in my 20s. So I went from, I ran a boarding garden. Yeah. And then I did, that was when I first really decided I wanted to focus on the reiners. And so I worked for Brian Bell there in North Carolina and, Francois Gauthier for a little while, and then, moved out here to Oklahoma and worked for Jody Brainerd for, like 3 years, I think, before I moved back to North Carolina. And then worked for Mike McIntyre for another 3 years or so, before I kind of just branched off and went and helped Matt. So Matt and I have known each other forever and ever. And finally, I think in 2012, the end of 2012, I moved to where he was training in Kentucky, and just kind of took over helping him with his side of things. And
then y'all ended up in Oklahoma.
We ended up in Oklahoma. It sounds like a crazy journey. But
no, it's really cool. Well,
we both ended up here. Yeah, well, and we both liked it out here. This is where most of our horse shows are. This is where a lot of the business is, when it's where people come to, look for reining horses, and we liked it out here just in general. And so, we're here in Purcell. We bought a little place around the corner from Silver Spurs in, 2015, I believe. And so then I started working part-time when it was still extra quarter horses, and, kind of just started out doing social media and, helping with their sales stuff. And then it kind of just spiraled into taking over a lot more. And over the years, I think it's just become pretty much my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, horses in general, 24/7,
Yeah,
and social media.
And you have to have that kind of mentality in order to do it well, because you have to be able to set everything else aside for the most part at any given time. So, that kind of just fits my personality, I guess.
Well, the fact that you kind of grew up around that whole 4-H area and that type of, because, it's intimidating for somebody that, wants to just say, hey, I want to ride horses and go straight into like a show atmosphere or a really big, I think it's cool to kind of come from that type of area and grow up in it, because I agree with what you said. It just changes the way you think about it. It's like a good foundation.
Yes, and you learn, and I mean, I find myself saying that all the time nowadays, is like, that kid needed 4-H, like you see people doing things and you're like, who taught you how to do that? Who taught you how to put that halter on,
Yeah.
And I was just taught in such a particular way, that to me, when you do it wrong, it's like, why are you doing it that way? Like, how are you doing horses and no one taught you that that's wrong?
Right. But, and it seems like such basic info, but it's really not basic. It's like,
no, if you take for granted when you had a good teacher like I did, you take for granted that people don't all get that, so, there's a lot of people that do this day in and day out and still don't necessarily have all the same, foundation as what I grew up with. So I really do appreciate having that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I did 4-H. I totally agree with you. It's aspects of it that would help people tremendously. But now, do you show, or you're so busy, do you ever get to show? Because I know, like you said,
I try. I try. My horse that I have now is retired, so he's kind of just on a little vacation, and I haven't had the time or really the funding to go find another one. I'm just like limited non-pro, so it's hard for me to I mean, with the way that the industry is right now, it's just, I mean, even just the limited non-pro weekend horse is pretty pricey these days. So,
the price of horses is high.
Yeah, which is great from other aspects of my job. It's great. But, for me personally, it's a little tough to find one that would work for me and, and be in my budget. But I'm kind of always looking. So, maybe I have a yearling coming 2-year-old now. So, maybe he'll be a project. I might just have to create one and he'll be ready by the time he's broke for me to show. So
you'll probably just run across something that'll just hit you and you'll be like, you know what? That's it. Like perfect time and perfect place.
I hope so.
Well, it can probably get, I guess, I don't want to say old because, you know, people do it for a living, they do it for a living, but it can get old sometimes going to show and do the same thing over and over. So it's nice to get a break every now and then go back in it,
well,
you know.
I always feel like I say that, like it's okay, well, after this show, we'll have some downtime, but then I just never end up having any downtime. It just always ends up going on to the next thing. I say it I don't know how I haven't learned to just stop saying it, but, you know, after the fraternity, I say, okay, we're done with sales for the year and now we'll slow down. And then it's, you know, time to get yearlings started and, you know, get, you know, a new batch of horses come in the barn and then breeding season starts and then foaling season gets going and it just spirals. So
your hands are in a lot of aspects of that, like as far as, you know, Silver Spurs production, the whole operation, like your hands are in pretty much a little bit of all of it.
Everything. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, we're not a real big team. I mean, it's a big operation, but it's kind of a tight-knit group. And so we kind of all have to pay attention to a little bit of everything and rely on each other that way too. You know, it's not just, oh, that's so-and-so's job. You know, we all kind of help out whenever we need to. And you know, and it's hard to find good help too. So, I mean, we always, that's just a constant struggle in the horse industry, finding someone that you trust to just take over a project or something without, you know, having to hover over them. So, that's just part of the day to day. And then having just the staff in general here just to make this place go is, you know, that just overseeing staff is a job in itself. So that's
I can imagine dealing with that.
Yeah. So it's, it just never really seems like it slows down, even though I trick myself into thinking it might some moments.
Well, it's a good thing that you guys are like that, though, as far as, you know, being able to work together. And it's not just like, okay, this is a job.
Everyone gets along and everyone's kind of responsible for themselves and, you know, takes what they do seriously and takes pride in their work. So that goes a long way because that's not really something you can teach everybody. So I think that's pretty important for a team to have.
Yeah. Trust is, I mean, trust costs a lot of money. It costs a lot to earn it and get it.
Yeah, for sure. And like with Silver Spurs, you know, we're constantly kind of trying to stay in the mix with things because we are now focused more on just, you know, solely the breeding and sales part of it. We don't have a training operation. We do have a trainer that works out of our facility in Oklahoma, but he does his own deal. So, we're really just focused on promoting the stallions and the offspring and getting people to come and buy one from us and then go do good things so that we can follow their career. That's why, and, you know, Silver Spurs always kind of tries to be a little bit unique that way, where we try to make things affordable and give people a lot of options. So we are expecting, I think, like 120 babies next season. So,
holy cow! I was going to say 30 studs. That's a lot.
And so we try to make it where there's something for everyone's budget too. Of course, we have, you know, our high-end, you know, mares that have produced quite a bit, and then we have, you know, the best studs that are really marketable. But then we also have some junior stallions coming up, or some that are just on their first or second foal crop. And, you know, and maybe a mare that is bred well, but didn't have a show career yet or hasn't produced anything yet. So we kind of try to be both ends of the spectrum. Like if you're on the lower end budget, you can still come find something that's going to work for you and work for what your program is. So, that's kind of what we're really big picture trying to do. And then, Michael and Michelle Niola have come up with their incentive payout, which is, this is the first year we're doing it this way, where they're going to, it used to be, you know, they kind of did a spin-off of what Extra Quarter Horse's original incentive was, where it paid down in just the level 4 finals of the open and the non-pro futurity. And now the new program is that we will match, I believe it was the 2021 ballpark of the 2021 championship payouts. we're going to match, and I think we have all the numbers on our website, because I think we rounded up or something because the, numbers were a little tricky. For all of the champions of every level of all open and non-pro futurity at, in Oklahoma City. And then they even expanded it to the Derby this year and into Europe, because we have a lot of customers that breed with us in Europe as well. So we did also several events there, and already this year
that's very interesting.
Yeah, well, and we do it just, there's no enrollment, there's no stallion nominations for people, there's no foal, nominations, there's no extra entry fee. Your horse is just automatically in it if it's by one of our studs. And then I just follow everybody, so I just kind of pay attention to who's in, in the shows and everything, and what offspring are actually, contenders for that. So we already paid out, I think, $75,000 this year at the Derby. And I think between 2 events in Europe so far, we've already paid another $13,000 in Europe. So, it's already kind of taking off, and it's kind of fun to see because people don't have to do anything. They just have to go show their horse. So,
well, I'm a little dumb when it comes to this whole incentive ordeal. I see it all the time. I see it on Facebook. I see it all the time. Everybody, but not just reiners, barrel racers, all kinds of stuff, these studs and the incentives and everything. In layman's terms, basically, it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in layman's terms, it's basically you are giving your buyers or your customers extra money if they buy from you when they achieve these certain things, right?
Right. And in our case, they don't even have to buy it from us, but if it's just sired by one of our stallions, it's also included, because we have, just the breeding aspect of things too. So, we want to reward people for just believing in the stallion or just believing in their own mare or stallion or that kind of thing. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, basically it's just extra money because your horse is sired by that stallion. So, if you win at any of those levels, you have a chance to double your money basically. So,
right. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And now with these payouts that have been so huge in the Reining, I think that's it's an even bigger splash. The open futurity will pay $350,000. So we'll match that. So that's
holy cow,
a pretty big paycheck for one horse show. So
yeah, that's definitely a return on the investment for sure.
Yeah.
Now shipping to Europe. Now you just caught my eye there for a minute. So you guys, obviously seems not that. That's easily shipped and stuff. But do you have customers that come from Europe and then you have to ship horses or fly them or whatever have you?
Well, so we actually don't handle that aspect of it. We use, we have several other export companies that we've worked with quite a bit. And so generally I might give someone some contacts and stuff of people I've worked with that specialize in that, because when a horse needs to get exported to Europe and that kind of thing, there's a quarantine protocol and we're not set up for that. So, normally I just kind of
send the horse
recommend them
to that place, and then they would handle it. And
Yep, they do that quite a bit actually. Yeah, we've had a lot of people from Europe and Brazil and that kind of thing that have bought horses and exported them. So it's getting really big everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's so cool to me because even though you know it happens, it exists and that kind of stuff, but to just hear somebody talk about it, it's just kind of like it's very interesting because you don't think, okay, well you can't necessarily transport an animal like that, but they do it all the time. Right.
Well, and we have agents that manage frozen semen for us in several other countries. So we have some agents in Italy, in Germany, in Belgium, and then we have some other agents that are specifically, in charge of, we have in their, their breeding sales for silver spurs in Mexico and Brazil and also Australia. So, every year, after every breeding season, we regroup with those agents and, we kind of take an inventory and we ship frozen semen. They kind of have an idea of what kind of inventory they need to sell. And then, we work with them in a lot of different places and it's getting more and more popular in in all of those areas, actually.
Do you think reining has drastically just grown over the years since you've been in it? Has it gone, I mean, have you just seen it just gradually kind of grow, or do you think it spiked over the last couple of years?
I mean, I've seen it growing, of course, over, the last several decades, but for sure, I mean, the last 4 or 5 years that we've had, all this, mainstream exposure has, I mean, for sure it's grown, immensely. And just the amount of awards and prize money that's being, put into these events is just, I mean, that's just a whole other level of drawing people in, and keeping the people that already are in. Yeah. Yes. I mean, and it's a big spotlight on, not just our sport, but like the Western lifestyle, I think, is kind of the draw. It seems like that's kind of trending right now. So I think it's all good. I think the people that are really in it to do it for a living are going to be able to keep their focus, focus on the horses. And if it changes, I think we'll be able to go with it either way.
I don't think it's going to change. I don't think it's going to go too far down. I mean, the economy is the economy. You can't.
Yeah. And you can't predict it, but you can kind of keep track. So I think, it doesn't, there's not a whole lot of surprises when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's crazy to me. I definitely agree, though, that Yellowstone has had a huge impact on, I mean, all types of.
Yeah, just in general. I mean,
all of it.
Yeah, there was somebody, I was in like a drive-through to get like a drink or something in Norman here, and I had my NRHA jacket on, and just that's all it had was the NRHA logo. And this little 15-year-old girl that was working at the little drive-through window asked if I had reining horses and if I worked for reining horses and stuff. And, I said, oh, yeah, we have reining horses. And she said, my family and I, we watch the Last Cowboy every week. And she said, we don't even know what's going on, but we watch it every week. She loved it. And I mean, she didn't even know what reining was. And she saw my jacket and was so excited. It's almost like become like a celebrity thing. Like if you have anything to do with reining horses, there's so many new people that they're starstruck by it.
Well, it's cool because I mean, and you might can agree with this, what I'm trying to say. It's cool to be able to, for the Western industry or horses in general, to be able to reach people that are non-horse people. I mean, you're either a horse person or you're not. And it's cool to be able to reach out there and introduce it to people, and it could grow the industry even more. Because, horse people have a tendency to be real kind of, I don't know the right word to say, closed off per se, or real judgmental, or real very, it's hard for somebody new to get in it.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Because we can have
giving some opportunities. Yes, for sure. And I think it's just giving a whole new outlook of, opportunities to some, looking for that new involvement. So I think that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But you're right. It is kind of a starstruck thing because the whole, I think, one show, I don't remember what show it was, or some big show that was going on. They had Beth Dutton there, Rip was there and stuff, and it was a big ordeal.
Yeah, they're bringing them to this. Yeah, they're kind of making appearances and that kind of thing, and it's just drawing a lot of attention.
Yeah, these shows have been like sold out. I mean, like people coming to watch.
Yes,
almost like football games.
Yeah, it's become quite a spectator thing. Even if you don't even really know the logistics and the fundamentals of the sport, it's still exciting. What the horses are doing is always still exciting for people that don't even know. It's just such a dynamic sport. So it's kind of fun.
I think it's a meme I saw that said, what was it? It said something like, now the weird, quiet, shy horse girls are the cool girls now. Or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like,
oh my goodness. Yeah, these horse girls now, now it's not a bad thing anymore, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's not a bad thing anymore. We're actually kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you something else. As far as studs, I mean, obviously you're around a massive amount of studs. What do you think is, a key factor when it comes to picking a stud, besides just price range or that type of ordeal? But what are some of the things that you think are good to look for when you're picking a stud if you're, shopping like that?
Okay, well, I think that's it's kind of different for everyone. First of all, I would always say, what's your goal for the fall? So is it something you want to ride yourself and show? Is it going to be a non-pro horse, or is it going to be a prospect that you're going to try to market to an outside customer and try to sell it and, make your money back or promote your program or your mare? That has a lot to do with, what's trending. There's a lot of people specifically will call me looking for something with a bald face and blue eyes. If you want to market it to that, that client, you might want to breed to a horse that's going to throw some chrome and throw some color and stuff like that. But overall, when people ask me that, my first question is, what would they say their mare's strengths and weaknesses are? So most people are not going to say, oh, they're perfect. My mare's perfect. They usually have something that they say, well, she's really good at this, but I wish she was a little more like this. And then that helps me kind of tell them which way I would lean. Do you want something that has a little bit more gas in the tank? Is your horse really lazy? Or is it the other way around and they're a little bit hot? And, would you want to quiet them down a little bit? So I think it just really depends on your mare for the most part. I mean,
you want to compliment her.
Yeah, you want to compliment your mare and build on what she is, great at, and maybe improve on what she's not great at, or, what some of the weaknesses. If she's finer boned, you might want to breed to a stud that has a lot more, strength in their bones, that kind of thing, and kind of try to balance that out. And, of course, overall, you want to complement, conformation. You want them to be able to be built to do their job. So, that's something to take into consideration no matter what. But somebody I can say, all right, well, what are you looking for? I've got 30 options here. Let me tell you which one might be your best bet, and studs are the same. They have strengths and weaknesses as well. So, you can always kind of find the right mix that way.
Yeah, no, that's really nice as far as a consumer's standpoint is concerned. You can literally kind of put together whatever they're looking for.
Yeah, and we've had so many that I can tell you what's worked in the past or what maybe hasn't worked in the past, and kind of help them that way too. So, I just follow it so much. I feel like I eat, sleep, and breathe Reining statistics. So it's kind of like,
you do every aspect of it. You do a show aspect of it, a breeding aspect of it, a training aspect of it. You're sitting in a good spot to be able to be the person to call. If I wanted to get in reining horses, I'd be like,
yep,
this girl's going to know what she's talking about.
I do tend to have a lot of different angles that I can kind of bounce off ideas. Of course, the big breeding operation. But I see so many aspects. I deal with a lot of new people coming in. I deal with a lot of people that are just showing, with the Oklahoma Reining. There's a lot of newbies that are getting in and just doing the green reiner and stuff, and they're just learning the ins and outs of the horse show world. And we have, like I said, we have a level 4 open trainer that's working here out of our facility at Silver Spurs. So, that comes with a high caliber of clients and a high caliber of horse, and, gone all the time to all sorts of different big events. But then my husband, is, a smaller scale operation. We only have about a dozen horses in training at any given time. And his dad is a 2-time futurity champion that is in the Hall of Fame, So it's kind of like
to say, he's born into it.
So, it's all aspects. From the guys that have been doing it for, decades and decades, to the new ones, to some that are wanting to have, 60 horses in training, to some that want to focus on a certain aspect of it. And I get to see pretty much every single angle.
Now, how long has the Oklahoma reining horses, how long have you guys been doing that?
So the show that we do in March, it's been an Okra show for a really long time, but it wasn't until, I want to say 2016 was the first year that they really kind of amped it up, and they took on a bigger event and added aged event, added the Derby and got, a lot of sponsors on board and added, bigger money and that kind of thing. And that first year was a learning curve. They kind of got bombarded because it was such a great time to do a horse show and a great facility there at Tulsa. And so ever since then, it's been just evolving.
Yeah, I've delivered to it before.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, we've had you do lots of things for us, and it's such a great, like a great place to go show, your horse. And now it's gotten even bigger for us because it's kind of a good preparation show for the NRBC, which now moved to the same facility, which is like a month after. So, everyone that already was, planning on coming, now maybe they're bringing more horses or they're, bringing different customers or, that kind of thing. So, it's become a pretty fun show, but we also try to not, it's a small group of us that really put it on. So we try to not make it overwhelmingly, extra things. It's still really focused on the horse show, so still really focused on just putting on the horse show, black and white. And so we don't, have a huge staff to, do a million other little activities throughout. So we kind of just keep it simple. And we know that in the early March, you're still just getting rolling with your horse show season. So that's pretty much everyone's priority. And we've kind of just taken that aspect of it and focused on that. So far so good. And it's been a fun show.
Well, it's a good environment, our event to, like what you just said, people can come and kind of just get ready for this next big show, or they can go and they can treat it like a big show, or they can go and treat it whichever way they want to treat it.
Yep. And there's money, so it's not like it's for no reason. If you want to go ahead and test your horse out, you have a good chance at winning a pretty good paycheck. It's not like it's not a frivolous show, but it's also low pressure, so it's kind of a fun dynamic, I think. And then we did add, we added the novice horse division for the Derby, and then we added a 4-year-old deal last year for the first year, and that was a really good class. So, and that's another, if you have a 4-year-old that you didn't really get to show as a 3-year-old, March might be a good time to kind of see where you're at with them. So, it's been pretty good so far. So we're hoping to kind of keep it rolling.
Well, that's cool. And it's cool that it's close to home too,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When I lived in North Carolina, it was like every horse show was like 24-hour drive every single time. And now it's like
you drove
2 hours. Yeah. 2 hours to Tulsa. And now it's like that seems like a lifetime for me now. I never have to go much further than Oklahoma City. So,
well, that's not, you got to go. If you want to be with lions, you got to go where the lions are.
Yeah. From the whole time I was there in North Carolina, it was a long drive almost unless you were going to the one that was pretty local there, you were driving for a whole day. So it was kind of, you just got to get it in the right mental state for that. So,
yeah. Now what, I was also going to ask you, what would you like to see change in the industry? What are some things that you think should change, kind of throughout everything, or things that you like specifically about, being in the reining industry compared to other parts of the horse world?
Well, I think the reining itself is really kind of a unique industry and a unique division of the horse industry. It's such a hard sport. It's so hard. It doesn't matter if you are the best of the best or you're just getting started. Something can go wrong or something can go great. And it's just, we have such a good judging system and, that there's no question most of the time. In general, there's no question on whether it was a good run or not a good run. So there's that decisiveness about it that, you come out and you pretty much know if you did a good job or you didn't do a good job. And, there's so much detail to it that, just the smallest thing can really help you out, or it can, it can hurt your run. So it's just such a challenge. I think the people that get into it, well, in the judging system itself, just the scale, just the plussing maneuvers and minusing maneuvers plus all the penalties, it's such a learning, a learning curve for people getting into it because it's pretty black and white. Of course, there's a little bit of opinions, which is, that's horse showing. But
right.
For the most part, if you watch someone go stop a +1, there's going to be 10 other people that say, yes, that was a +1. It's not a lot of question about it. So, I think that's,
thing, though. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And that's, I think, a really good part about our sport is that, you know what the goal is, but it's so hard to make it happen, and that just makes people want to come back for more because you just always feel like you can always improve, and people like myself are kind of, a little bit that way anyway. I'm a little bit of a control freak and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So that kind of dynamic really works for me to want to do better and want to learn how to do better every time. So I think that the sport of reining is really special that way because even the people that you see that have been doing it forever always feel like they could have done a little bit better and they could get better tomorrow, or they can learn their horse different, or they can prepare different. So, I really like that part of it. And like I said, it's a challenge. So,
you just said it was black and white too. If you take that aspect of showing horses, I would rather know exactly what I'm getting into. Like if you already know this is wrong, this is right, go for it, instead of something like, pleasure. You're literally being just like, you really don't even know if they're going to like you or not. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
There's only so much you can do, and they may have already made their mind up. Yeah. Yep.
So that's cool to be able to kind of know exactly what is expected and not expected, and then you can go home with something like what you just said. You can go home and go, okay, well,
you can fix it. Yeah, work on it.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And do better next time, and you might do better on that next time and screw something else up. So that's just kind of how it goes. But
I always thought it was so cool to see the dirt flying. Like, I just always thought that was the coolest thing when I was younger, watching reiners. Like, and I would sit there thinking to myself, how do they do that?
Yeah, and now, the horses are bred so refined and so just meant to do that job. It's like, I even see now, like, when horses only have a handful of rides on them, you can tell already that they're made to do their job. Like, it's so natural for them anymore. So that's really helped our sport so much, is being able to breed horses to do the job that they're meant to do is, you can't beat that. When they're born and they look like a horse that can already go slide and stop, that's just, the icing on the cake.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people, if you're not in the industry, if you're new to it, how serious the statement is that you do essentially ride papers. Like, when you go in, you want to get something that's actually bred to do the sport that you're wanting to do. And it makes a big difference. That's not to say you can't, go get a horse that isn't necessarily bred to do reining and not succeed with it. But it gives you
there's always a special one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and of course, just anymore, just being in the business, the marketability of them, is a drastic difference. But yes, there's for sure so many horses that are maybe off the beaten path paper-wise, and they can still go compete. But anymore, it's so, few and far between. It's just, I've watched so many, like, open finals, you might, say there's 30 horses in the finals, and there might be a mare that has 2 or 3 of those in the finals. Just a mare, not just the studs. Like, anymore, that bottom side of the papers is just, it's proof that's what works, So, if you don't, rarely see a finals at a major event where there's not just some of those big name mares that they're just consistent producers, and, it just speaks for itself.
I think, and I don't know if you agree or not with me, I think I don't know the right word I'm trying to say, but the mare side of it is becoming more and more, I think people are becoming more and more aware of how important that side is now over the past maybe 4 or 5 years compared to 15, 20 years ago. I don't want to say mares weren't necessarily important, but they're becoming more, people are realizing how important they are more now. Yeah. Do you think
well, and the fact, just the breeding, being able to have more every year is, I think, leading people to see the product. It's not like, 20 years ago, you'd only have one a year, so,
right.
Now there's so many more people flushing embryos and doing ICSI and getting, multiple babies out of that good mare every single year. So there's more offspring out there proving it, so people get on the bandwagon a lot easier because they say, hey, she had 3 3-year-olds this year and all 3 of them, went and won money as a maturity horse. So that, and with social media and the internet and everything, I mean, everybody can find it. You can look up everything, and going on NRHA's website, the new Rainer suite, you can look up offspring earnings so easily, and it's just become common knowledge. So, people are seeing that trend of that mare, producing so much better than something else. So.
Yeah, and the quickness of it, like you just said. I mean, back in the day, you would have to wait.
Right.
You just had to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that there's just more of them, there's more out of those, and the people that have those good mares are investing in them and making more babies. So you just see more of it.
About time these mares got some equality.
Yeah. For sure.
A typical just day for you, if you're just strolling into Silver Spurs, what's the typical day of you taking care of all of that 400 horses? I didn't know you had 400 horses.
It could be literally anything. Like, I mean, it's just when you have a big operation like we do here, we always just kind of say it's one of those things where, like, we're not even surprised anymore, and
right.
Knock on wood, most of the time, it's not even horse related. It's just like, a gutter fell off of something and smashed the windshield or something, like just like the most random things. But I mean, on a normal day, we say, and like I said, I handle a different aspect of it than everybody else. Luckily, I don't know how I played my cards right, but I don't have to be outside like I used to be all the time, every day. I always feel bad
put in your time a long time ago.
Yes, especially growing up in Pennsylvania. I did my winters in outside, and so I'm in the office and in the barns quite a bit. I kind of, make a few laps every day, make sure that, I don't see anything jump out at me that is, needs repaired or fixed or addressed. And luckily I've got, like I said, a good team that there's so many eyes all around the place that can say, hey, this needs done, or hey, so-and-so mentioned this horse, did this, or, and it's, more of a get here and then react to whatever we walked into that day kind of thing.
Just keeping it running.
Yes. I mean, just every day. I mean, like I said, it could be different every day. And we always have projects, of course. I mean, we're always doing some sort of improvement or repair or something, adding pasture fence or adding, shelters. Or I think right now our project this week is we're putting some new lights in the light pens for the recipient mares. And, it's just an ongoing thing. We just pick and choose what is a priority that week, and then just, business as usual. And once breeding season gets here, it'll be a little more hectic. Right now is a little bit more conducive to us doing other projects. Once breeding season kicks off, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday of collecting stallions and shipping semen, and then on the off days, they're, checking 100 mares that day, so it's just.
And when does breeding season technically start for you guys? Like from when to when?
We start in January. I mean, we start checking mares and stuff, but I mean, breeding season would be like the 1st of February would be when we start shipping. But even now in the off season, they're collecting studs and freezing semen. So just not on such a, strict schedule, but
yeah.
But
yeah, in preparation.
Yeah. And just, I mean, when in the off season, we'll freeze semen. So we have some stored, but yeah, once that gets going, it'll get a little hectic around here, but
And well, it's not like y'all. I mean, y'all don't have 400 stalls for all of these horses. Like,
no.
I mean,
Yep, they're outside. Yeah, I mean, the majority of our mares and babies are outside most of the time. We have, I think, I want to say about 200 stalls here. And that includes, we have the main show barn and the show barn, and then we have another annex barn that is basically training horses for the trainer that's here. And then we have 2 good-sized mare motels that have big falling stalls and, a lab and that kind of thing. So that's where most of that happens down there. But for the most part, they're outside a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool because, some people have this, they may assume that it's, they're not necessarily outside all the time or whatever and how the things work. And it's probably a big schedule to handle that many animals and switch them out and turn around and do this and do that, feeding schedules and things like that. That's a lot to handle.
And they're all we have a really good system that keeps records of everything. When they check mares, they put everything into the system and then they get set into the system for the next time they're due to be checked and everything. So each day of, you can print off or pull up on the system what needs to be done that day, what was on the schedule for that day. And you could have put it in 2 weeks ago or 2 days ago and it'll come up with everybody that needed to be checked that day kind of thing. So,
that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's called Wise Option and we use that and it does. I mean, it helps put semen orders in. It organizes all of that. It keeps all the horse records. It does all our billing. So, that in itself is kind of a lifesaver for our business here.
Yeah, no, that's really cool to be able, I mean, obviously, for common sense reasons to keep it all together, but, to be able to just go in there and check that kind of stuff and keep everything on a schedule for each horse and this and that and da-da-da-da. I mean, it's a production. It's a big operation.
Yep, and it's all in the cloud, so like you can access the system from anywhere here on the ranch, so you can log on and keep up with what everybody else is doing, even if they're in a different building, so that's really like.
Now, y'all don't have to ever transport between Scottsdale and Purcell, right?
Well, so we do. I mean, they sent a lot of all their weanlings once they are weaned and, kind of been weaned for a few weeks and stuff. They sent them all here to us. So everybody comes to Oklahoma to do any like prospect shopping. They do better growing up here in the pasture and, and it's more centralized location wise. So, we just get more traffic for that. And same thing, if we're going to breed, we have the majority of the brood mares are here, but the majority of the stallions are in Arizona. So, we ship semen both directions, every collection day for the most part.
That's cool.
Yep.
And it's a lot more, I mean, it's one thing to have to handle one facility like that, but to be able to do it between both of them, that's a lot. Yep. And how many horses y'all got out in Scottsdale?
I want to say, I'm not sure of their total number because they have, like I said, over like maybe about 30 studs out there. And, they've kind of moved a lot of mares around and moved a lot here for us to kind of like let them have, some pasture time and that kind of thing too. So, they have, way less than we do, but they don't have as much space either. So, it makes more sense for them to be here, the climate and, having grass and all that kind of stuff. It's a little more horse friendly.
I bet that is a climate change because I didn't even think about that. I mean, obviously it's the desert out there, but you just don't really think about it.
Yep. It's hot and it's very dry, and there's not really much pasture. So, so
that's a lot of hay then.
Yes, no kidding. So it's nice to have the babies here and they can go out and graze and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm just thoroughly. I have just enjoyed our conversation because this has been very interesting and not know kind of, I mean, I see the social media posts, you see the studs, you see the babies and all this kind of stuff, but, it's cool to be able to get like a little bit of an insight on exactly all the backdoor stuff that goes on. And, it's not just to breed a horse and sell it. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.